Hello, I'm Annabel.
And I'm Emilie, and we're the Midults.
You see immediately blank.
Well, this is what we're here to talk about.
Yes, I mean, to my point, I just forgot what I was going to say. We keep hearing from women who have lost their memory. They've lost their lust for life. They've lost their lust because their libido is through the floor. They can't sleep. They're unbelievably stressed and filled with panic, and they don't know why.
Yeah, I know. You honestly can't move for a walk in the park or a phone call or whatever with someone saying basically that they are about to kind of set their lives on fire.
Leave their husband, leave their job, get on a plane to Mexico and never come back. And the word, of course, that's buzzing around at the moment, and thank goodness we're talking about it, is the perimenopause.
And we also hear of women who go to doctors and say, can you help? And they are told, no, there's nothing that they can do right now.
No, either have an antidepressant or wait till you haven't had a period for a year.
Yeah, which doesn't help the situation that we're currently in right now.
Because these are women in their early, mid to late 40s, and everyone thinks, oh, no, I'm going to kick this into the long grass. It's not going to happen until I'm 52. But the buzzword that keeps just sort of, coming at us through all this misery, because really it is misery, is LYMA.
Yes.
LYMA is a supplement, and it seems that LYMA is really helping people. So we wanted to find out a bit more about the mysterious LYMA. So we are here with LYMA's founder, Lucy Goff. Hi, Lucy.
Hello. Hi, Annabel. Hello, Emilie.
So perimenopause really has just sort of floated to the top of the conversation pile. It was not something that was really discussed until, a couple of years ago?
I think the problem with the perimenopause is it's not kind of something that is going to be like a month, 2 months, a year. It's an infinite time, and there's nothing really that anybody can do about it other than go to the GP, be told that there's nothing really you can do until you haven't had a period for a year, and then you're in the menopause, and then we can start treating. There's actually so many things you can do. You can take hormones from, when things first start to go wrong. You don't have to take antidepressants and then get stuck on that cycle of, shit, I can't come off them, And they come with a raft of side effects as well. You just want to take what you can that's effective to get you through, and then supplement with something that you don't have to hope is going to work. It's going to work. And the thing is, if you want to know something's going to work, it basically has to be a medicine. And otherwise, you're just eating a crushed up herb or, this crushed up flower.
I know, if I eat one of these, will it make me feel better?
No, but you'll smell nice.
The thing about the perimenopause is the symptoms are sort of, there's a huge list of horrific symptoms.
Hilarious.
40 of them. And it's like, well, am I just having a bad day, or is it the perimenopause?
Yes.
Have my kids just pushed me over the edge, or has nothing pushed me over the edge and my hormones have pushed me over my edge? Nobody can say anything. Nobody can tell me. It's not, and it's a terrible analogy, it's not like a COVID test. You've either got it or you haven't. It's something that's kind of quite
subtle but powerful, right? Yeah. Because also all these things,
an undulation.
They aren't necessarily symptoms that you think are hormonal.
No, but they're debilitating.
Yes, they are, but they might be like aching joints.
Yeah.
And then
tinnitus.
Yes, tinnitus. I have tinnitus
from all the clubbing.
Yes, standing too close to the speakers, not anymore. But I mean, the one that certainly I suffer from, and that we hear an awful lot, is sleep. Suddenly, it's 4 a.m, and you're awake like your life is on fire.
So sleep is an interesting one, because sleep is, along with breathing, is the only thing that we're able to do when we're born. It comes naturally. It comes naturally to every single baby. And yet it becomes so unachievable when you hit this phase. And it's really scary, because you need sleep to function. You cannot function. If you don't sleep, you will lose your job. Your life will fall apart. And the problem is that, nowadays you cannot be prescribed sleeping tablets on an ongoing basis from the doctor. So where does that leave you? It leaves you with the supplement industry. And the problem with the supplement industry is that sleep supplements are, it's kind of they're just sedatives. And sedatives are not really the best sleep solution. Knocking yourself out isn't the best route to having an amazing night's sleep.
But as you know, when you're not sleeping, you will take anything.
I was about to say, sounds great. Obviously not a long term.
Exactly.
Somebody knock me out, please.
It's not viable long term. You can't knock yourself out. And actually, it was a really famous sleep scientist once said something that really struck in my mind. He said, sleep and sedatives, sleep and relaxation don't go hand in hand. They're not brothers. They're more like cousins. You can be relaxed and still not be able to sleep.
Well, I found this when I was, waking up 4 a.m. and that was it, no more sleep. Because people were saying, oh, it must be anxiety. You're waking up with a pounding heart. You're waking up feeling very, very worried. No, the problem was just the awake.
Yes. I am awake. Yep. I am not in that kind of deep sleep. And the interesting thing about LYMA is, and this is why it's a different kind of sleep supplement, is that it's not sedative. There is no sedatives in LYMA. And the way that it works is, it's actually quite interesting. As you transition through your sleep cycle, so you have a sleep every night, and you transition through various sleep cycles. And when you transition from one sleep cycle to the next, your sleep becomes fragile. And if you're highly inflamed, so if you've got a lot of inflammation going on, then your body will latch onto these sleep cycles these sleep transitions, and you will become awake. You'll become awake. They'll go, oh,
right. So
okay,
take advantage of a changing tide.
Yes.
To break through sleep and be like, okay, we're done now.
But that's exactly what happens to me. So I wake up at like 11, 2, 4, whatever. So just as I move, and it's incredibly frustrating. And I'm not necessarily panicked, but I'm definitely obviously the anxiety then creeps up because you're like, I need to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. As the insomnia beds in, then the awake turns to utter misery, because what happens is the day ahead starts to feel like a prison sentence.
It does, and it's that worry of, oh, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? And so how LYMA works, it works very differently. As I say, it's not a sedative, it's an anti-inflammatory. So it means that when your body transitions from one sleep cycle to the next, your cells will be relaxed, and it won't go, oh, wow, we can grab onto this. There's nothing to want to grab onto those cells and kind of make you awake. So it just means that you have a better night's sleep. There's no sedatives in it. It's just my body is able to cope with and manage the full night's sleep.
And our lives are so busy. Our lives, and we are so required on. We wear so many hats, and it should be non-negotiable that we sleep every night.
Also, more than ever, even though I'm supposed to have got more patience as I've got older, I've become much more sort of psychotically impatient. And so it's understanding that you can't always have a quick fix.
Yeah.
So presumably you're not going to take, a day's worth of LYMA and then sleep.
No. So sleep will probably come, it's different for everybody. It depends what benchmark you started LYMA on. But definitely by the end of the 12 weeks, you will be getting 8 hours sleep. It takes a while for your body to rebalance itself, and it's the same with focus.
Yes, brain fog. Okay, perimenopausal brain fog. What was I just saying? I can remember all the words to Push It by Salt and Pepper.
I can remember all the words to Vanilla Ice. The rap at the beginning.
I'm not going to ask you to do that now, but later. But what was I just saying? Why am I standing here holding this spoon?
I know.
Why have I forgotten what I'm doing while I'm actually doing it?
Exactly. And you stand there and you're in a room and you have no idea what you've come in for.
It's like when you're in the kitchen and you think, what was I going to make? And also, what ingredients did I need to take out?
You put your phone in the fridge, or I posted a letter into the bin the other day. And it's all very funny, except it's actually not that funny because it makes you less efficient. It makes you less sure of yourself.
And I think just at this point as well, where culturally women struggle for visibility anyway, I think the idea of becoming kind of exhausted and forgetful is really not where we want to be.
We're meant to be at the height of our powers.
100%.
Well, at the height of your career.
Yeah.
This is your time. Maybe your kids are a bit older. Mine aren't, because I just had a baby, but it's like, no.
No, but you're right, exactly. You should be, striding out there, living your best life.
It gets to like 10 o'clock at night and you think, is this the night that I'm going to sleep? Is this the night?
By the way, I could just say Lucy's just had a baby at 49, which perhaps speaks to LYMA's anti-aging properties, but we'll talk about that later. So brain fog. What ingredients can help us not forget our names?
Well, I think, if you follow the same ethos as the sleep, and, sedating isn't the best way to get a good night's sleep, and likewise stimulants are not the best way to break out of brain fog. What you want to do is make your brain work smarter. I always think it's a really bad analogy, but the film Limitless, where he takes his pill, he can just do anything. It's a bad analogy. But the way that LYMA helps break through the brain fog and really makes you think sharper is not through any stimulants. It's actually, it feeds it increases the turnover of the cells in your brain's membrane. So you've got more nutrients getting to the brain. That's all it is.
What's the ingredient that does that?
There's 3 ingredients that work together, but primarily there's acetylcholine in there, which is something that's already in your body anyway, but you'd have to eat many steaks. Which
we used to eat many steaks. We now can eat no steaks because we have 47-year-old digestion.
I know, so we're like a boa constrictor who's eaten a cow.
We have to lie in the sun for 3 days. Yeah. It's a disaster. How did you come up with this blend? This doesn't happen by accident.
I didn't do it, obviously, because I am not a scientist.
You're nearly a scientist.
Biology GCSE, so I'm definitely not a scientist. No. One of the most inspirational people that I've ever bumped into, and it literally was a man that I bumped into. I was in Geneva on one of these retreat weekends recovering from septicemia, and I overheard this guy that was on a conference. He was in Geneva on a conference, a guy called Dr. Paul Clayton, and he happens to be one of the leading longevity doctors. He's working with like over 30 governments as how to, avert the health crisis and things like that. And he introduced me to a category of supplementation that did work. It's called evidence-based supplementation. And it's the category of the industry that is pretty much hidden from the consumer because these ingredients are so much more expensive than organic ingredients that are basically a crushed up herb or a crushed up plant extract. These ingredients they've been patented, they've been peer reviewed, which means that they've gone through the same process as a pharmaceutical drug. They're dosed correctly, and it's basically the proven form of functional medicine. And this is the quality of ingredient that we've got in LYMA, and we dose it correctly, and it just works.
It is so hard to know what you're buying with supplements. I mean, it's the wild, wild west, really. We all take them, but we don't really know what they are, whether they're working.
Well, there's barely any regulation in the supplement industry. So, you can put out a crushed up herb and say like, I don't know, turmeric. You can take turmeric, and what nobody tells you is that turmeric is actually a placebo. It's not going to do anything for you. You need to take a medical form of turmeric for it to have an anti-inflammatory effect. And there's actually only one turmeric extract in the market that has been acknowledged that it can work as an anti-inflammatory. You can get an active load into your plasma, and that's the one in LYMA. But how would you know as a consumer? There's no, it's not like when you buy sun cream and you can see that star rating on the back. There's nothing in the world of supplements. So, consumers really need to look to a trusted source to supplement with. And it's amazing once you start taking something that works. It just seems such an obvious solution, but finding it is the difficult part. Especially every company's going to say their supplement works,
Because inflammation is aging, and aging is inflammation to a certain extent, and pain is inflammation, and inflammation. Obsessed.
I'm obsessed with inflammation. I've got terrible pain in my foot, and has been taken so long, 18 months, and it's still not gone away. And I was told the other day that I shouldn't eat tomatoes. And I love tomatoes. And I'm like, is that going to reduce my inflammation, Lucy?
That's too witchy.
I think you need to just continue eating tomatoes.
But I think the problem with all of this stuff is just at the point where we want to feel like capable, highly functioning human women, things start to kind of, swell up and stray, and and it's very undermining, and it's very overwhelming.
Yes, and you don't do anything about it. You just think, I haven't got time for this, and you get crosser and crosser.
But it's like, where do you start? Where do you start? Where do you start to get rid of the pain in your foot? What doctor do you go to? You have an MRI and it tells you, well, there's nothing there. And then what do I do now?
You just Google a lot.
Yeah, you need to Google it. Yeah. And then Google will just give you what's at the top of the SEO ranking. It's like...
And then your shoes you sort of start Googling like orthopedic shoes. And you really don't want to be wandering around in
You don't want to wear the insoles.
Yes.
You don't
Not
want
ready
to wear
for that.
I know, like take off my shoes at the end of the day and this sexy insole flies out.
Yeah, so
Up.
Yeah, exactly. Which has, by the way, slipped underneath so that you're already in agony.
Yes, insoles are the 40-something equivalent of a chicken fillet coming out of your bra.
No, who wears chicken fillets now?
No, not anymore. You're more likely to wear a sort of bum fillet, aren't you? Is there such a thing as a bum fillet? What about mood? Because I have pretty much a permanently bad attitude, and it's definitely got worse. So stress-induced irritation, where you're anxious and irritable all the time, and one half of you is thinking, I'm surrounded by idiots, and the other half of you is thinking, this is not me, I don't want to be this person, how did this happen?
Yeah, and the other half of you, no, that's too many halves, but anyway, it's sitting there thinking,
the seventh half of you.
Yes, exactly.
The seventh half of you. No, I think mood is obviously, one of the first, sleep and mood are the first obvious symptoms of the perimenopause. It's how it would manifest to you in a way that you recognise it. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many women get put on antidepressants. They go to the doctor, they say, these are my symptoms, and the doctor has a solution in the form of antidepressants, and they work brilliantly for some people, and other people just go on a cycle of discovering which antidepressant is going to work. Meanwhile, you become dependent on them, you've got the side effects, and it's just like...
But also, antidepressants are amazing, but not necessarily if it's a misdiagnosis.
No, exactly. Like, you should be... If you're depressed, then it's incredible. But it might, the depression might be a root of the start of the menopause, perimenopause. And there's an incredible ingredient in LYMA called Afron, which is a patented form of saffron that has been actually proven to be as effective as citalopram and fluoxetine. However, there's no side effects whatsoever, and it gets into your bloodstream within an hour. And it basically just raises your serotonin levels. And just something as simple as that increases your mood.
Yeah, because, you don't want to be...
You just want something that takes the edge off. Yeah. You don't want something that's going to change you. You just want the edge taken off. And that's...
And also it's that vicious cycle is you're tired and so you're bad-tempered. You're bad-tempered and you don't sleep because you're stressed. And it's just a never-ending, horrible peri-menopause.
Very good. I like that.
Awful. Couldn't have been worse.
And the other thing is because of the sort of because everybody has menopause shame because of the sort of conspiracy of silence around it. Of course, women don't think actually maybe I might be entering a period of perimenopause and therefore the sleep might be problematic, my mood might dip. Instead, you look at all the other areas of your life to blame, which is it's a depressing state. A third of the
and yourself, and you blame yourself. And I went to see a hormone doctor who said perimenopause generally will start somewhere between 38 and 42. And last for about 10 years.
But what 38-year-old is going to go to the doctor and be put on hormones? It's like, it might be the right thing to do, but psychologically you think, well, I'm not going to do that at 38 because where am I going to be at 48? What will I need by then? And actually, the other thing is that I always think is, if you've got a real issue in the perimenopause phase or the menopause phase, you should actually see a gynecologist. Yeah. Maybe the GP is a good first port of call, but it's like going to, if you've got something wrong with your throat, you wouldn't see a neurologist. You see an ENT. So it's about seeing a specialist in that.
Also, isn't it true that women's health is actually not a a compulsory option for GPs to take.
It's 30 minutes or something.
10 minutes.
Is it 10 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
So, I mean, if you think about this as like a third of the female population,
I
will be
couldn't
going
have
through
learned
menopause.
anything in 10 minutes.
No, exactly.
And also would have forgotten it.
I
Clearly.
would have forgotten.
And it's the fastest growing demographic in the workplace as well, this sort of, menopausal women. So it needs to be,
And the
everybody
thing
needs to
is,
be supported.
everybody in your surgery, every female in your surgery who goes to see you will reach this phase. It's not, will I suffer from depression? Will I break my leg at any point? No. Every single person it's like every single person will go through puberty. Every single woman obviously will go through the menopause. So it's crazy that you kind of look to the GP as the final destination when,
And yes, and they say no, and you go away and go, oh, I'll just keep blaming myself then.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'll
exactly.
just
There you
Google
go
it
again.
more.
What about libido, which is a lovely word? And I just suddenly thought to myself, just before we started filming, I thought, I bet there is a sports car called the Libido. Someone's done that. And someone, not Lamborghini, but somebody has done the Libido. Does what it says on the tin.
I bet men have bought it.
But so women now, they can't even take refuge in hate sex when they're in a bad mood because they don't want it. So
They actually hate sex.
yes, exactly, rather than hate sex. So what supplements can help you if your lust for life and everything else is just gone?
I don't think there's one thing that can help you, but ashwagandha is definitely something that can help you. However, there's only 2 brands of ashwagandha that you should ever take. You should never really take an organic ashwagandha, a generic organic ashwagandha.
It's so interesting when you talk about organic as a bad thing, because we're so trained to think that organic is virtuous and is the only
So
thing we should
organic in a supplement, it can be toxic, yet still organic. It can not survive your digestive system and just pass through, yet organic. Organic just means that plant was grown without a pesticide. It doesn't mean it's going to function as a medicine once you've ingested it. So there's 2 forms of ashwagandha that are really good. There's KSM 66 ashwagandha that we have in LYMA, and there's also another really good ashwagandha called Sensoril, and they are totally non-toxic, and that's why you should only ever take those two brands. But it's brilliant at reducing your cortisol, helping with sleep, really reduces your stress, and also helps with libido as well.
But I mean, if you're sleeping and not stressed, then surely the libido will come again.
It will come again.
Or change your partner and it might come back. You don't know.
I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who had someone round for tea. It was a man, and she said to him, "I'll show you around my garden, then you can come in my shed." Like, come on my boat. Well, old chestnut. What about the inside? Mood, sex drive, stress, anxiety, sleep. What about, you have to have a lot of therapy to be this shallow. Skin, hair, nails, bloating,
I mean,
good stuff.
Let's face it, your skin is probably the most important thing, because that's the thing that you're gonna look in the mirror, and if you see it's bad, if you see it's not where you want it to be, that can also affect your mood as well. I think lots of people reach for collagen supplements and things like that. They've not really ever been proven. The best way to get collagen in your body is through an amazing Mediterranean diet. Just eat a load of leafy greens, really good quality Mediterranean diet, and that is the best way to boost your collagen.
Tomatoes?
You could eat tomatoes if they're not going to affect your foot.
And what about supplementation for, hair that suddenly was great and is now breaking, eyebrows that were Cara Delevingne and now are sort of,
Vera Duckworth.
97. Vera Duckworth. There's a name for it.
Those Gwen Stefani ones,
it's the
Yes.
penciled in
We
one.
all
Yes.
did that in the
I know.
90s. Tiny
Bastards.
little.
They're back again, and you think, I really want to just stop
They won't grow
girls
back.
in the street and
They'll
go,
never
don't
grow
do
back.
it, it's not going to help,
No.
it's never going back.
Don't do
Never
that.
pluck an eyebrow.
But they start to get a bit sparser.
Yeah, they do.
And it's all a bit depressing. So, rather than necessarily reaching for, the growth supplements, the Botox, that you can, apart from the Mediterranean diet, you can take a supplement.
You can take a supplement, and the best ingredient to take is keratin, probably not collagen. Keratin is different, but the problem with the majority of the keratin supplement industry is that it's derived from like chicken waste, chicken beaks, chicken feathers. Nice. And it's really nice. Oh, just have some chicken feathers. So it doesn't have the same properties as human hair, human skin. So that's why we use keratin derived from sheep's wool that has got the same profile as humans. And it's amazing at strengthening your hair. There's nothing in this world that will stop your hair from falling out. You know, there's not a lot you can do about that. But what you can do is you can stop your hair from breaking. And that's the main problem that you would experience in the menopause.
But not just your hair. I mean, you know, everything starts to break and you get more vulnerable. So immunity is part of all this as well, because you don't want to be just catching bugs all over the place. No.
Immunity can come from many different places. It can be from vitamin D. It can be from beta-glucan. There's lots of ingredients you can take to boost your immunity, as well as, you know, getting a good night's sleep and things like that. But there's an amazing ingredient in LYMA called Wellmune. And that is, it's actually quite interesting because during the Victorian age, that was considered the golden age of nutrition because people were eating like 5,000 calories a day, all unprocessed foods, but lots of fermented foods. But they were leading very active lives, so they were working those calories off. So the ingredient that we've got in LYMA is a beta-glucans from a yeast cell wall, so it's like you'd find in sourdough. And it actually arrives at a point in your gut, sends a neurotransmitter to your brain to say the gut's been attacked, even though it hasn't, and you create more antibodies. So it's like just a simple little trick. So, you know, you just kind of, I always think of it as like that ready Brett glow. When you take LYMA, it's like that ready Brett glow. You've just got protection. And you just might not come down with a cold when the whole family does. It just like, it gives you an inner power to take the edge off.
Well, that's what you need during these years, is to access your inner power. Because, you know, you feel two things. You feel both very powerful, like for the first time you might know what you're talking about, and also bad-tempered, exhausted, and you can't remember anything. Yeah. And so would you take just LYMA?
Well, a good starting point that we always say is you can only just take LYMA. It's been formulated as a total supplement regime for anyone over the age of 18. So yes, you can just take LYMA and it will help with brain fog, with immunity, with sleep, with focus, with beauty and stress. It will help with all those parameters. If you have a restrictive diet, you might want to take an omega-3, but only ever take an omega-3 that's been blended with polyphenols, otherwise it's not going to work. So there's like a whole set of rules that nobody really tells you unless you're inside the industry. It's really good as well. You know, you might want to take a prebiotic, never take a probiotic necessarily, because it's always best to take a prebiotic, which helps to feed the good bacteria in your gut, as opposed to just, you know, plonking a billion bacteria, you know, inside
strangers.
Your gut. Yeah, strangers. It's like they're strangers.
They don't like strangers. They're not ready to meet you.
No. But yeah, so, you know, multivitamins, probably not. Best to eat just a good diet and get your nutrients from eating non-processed foods. Just a really, really good, healthy, balanced diet.
And give it a few months, right?
And give it, yeah, you know, if you take LYMA, you will definitely notice something by the end of 4 weeks. But it's really at the end of 12 weeks that you actually will feel yourself again. And then it's important just to carry on taking it. Because, you know, lots of people think, oh, well, I feel good now, I'll just stop taking it. And then, you know, they come back after a couple of months because they actually have started to slip back into...
Because the changes are sort of subtle and yet sort of strong. I mean, I've taken it in the past and only noticed that it had helped when I stopped.
Yes.
Because I suddenly felt like I should be sectioned.
Well, yeah.
And I was thinking, what's changed? And this is what had changed.
Well, it's like when I was pregnant and I had to stop taking it, because you can't take anything if you're pregnant. And it got to the end of the first 7 days I hadn't been taking it, and I said to my husband, I don't think it did anything because I feel really good still. And then it got to the 3-week mark, and I could feel myself just, every benefit that I had achieved had just gone back to the way that I was, and I wasn't sleeping, and I felt stressed, and my mood wasn't there. And my nails just started to peel off. And so it is amazing that the best way to realise that something worked is just to come off it.
Go cold turkey, except don't go cold turkey.
Exactly. And imagine if we all take it and then we can all are in a better mood, sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. Running the world. That's what
running the world, exactly.
Running the world. Lucy, thanks so much for explaining to us, because nobody ever does.
No, exactly.
And we don't know what we're taking or why we're taking it. But,
or most of the time we can't remember to take it, so this is great.
I know, I'm definitely heading in the way of a pill box with the days of the week on. That's sexy, isn't it?
We are just our grandparents, aren't we?
So if you think you're perimenopausal, you probably are perimenopausal. So don't ignore it and, do something about it.
And thank you so much, Lucy, for coming and telling us all about LYMA.
Thank you so much for having me.